Mike Franklin, the property tax guy, and today we're going to review a Freedom of Information Act request response that I received from the Town of Manlius. I had asked for attorney fees, invoices that the town had paid in addressing a property tax matter in state Supreme Court that was necessitated, I'm going to suggest, because the assessor didn't do his job, Assessor Pat Duffy. And I'm going to review the invoice with you and the ramifications of the entire thing. So I want to give you just a brief overview of what this is about. There was a property, a vacant piece of property that the property owner had owned for in excess of 20 years. It had been assessed for $40,000, and the assessor increased it overnight to $400,000. So his assessment went from, his taxes went from about $1,600 to $16,000 overnight. And I'm going to suggest that the reason he did that is because there is a contiguous property that the property owner had sold for a considerable amount of money to a fellow who had apparently made a lot of money in the stock market, bought the property, and then donated it to a municipality for a park. And so the assessor's logic, I'm assuming, was that he made a bunch of money on that, and so we're going to try to make it up on this one. And, well, because the assessor didn't do his job on the first one doesn't mean that he should break the law to try to make up for it in the second one, because it just doesn't work that way. Basically, what he did is he selectively assessed the property, and he knew that the vacant parcel of land does not qualify for small claims assessment review, so the property owner's only opportunity to appeal the assessor's decision would be to take it to state Supreme Court, which would involve hiring an attorney and court costs and filing fees and all those kinds of things. And so the property owner had hired me to represent him on another property. And well, I'm a real estate broker. I'm not an attorney, so I can't represent him in state Supreme Court. So I had to find an attorney for him that specializes in this kind of thing, which I did. And so, unfortunately, the assessor refused to talk to me about this, as is his job, and so he refused to talk about it, and so we had no other choice but to file in state Supreme Court. And so what I'm going to show you today is the invoices that it took me 2.5 months to get these invoices from the town. As you'll see, they like to redact a lot of the information. Apparently, this is confidential for some reason. But the first invoice from 10 October 2020 was $466.48. The invoice total was $476. And then here's the detail. And as you can see, they redacted the information out of the middle and then out of the right. Must be some sort of confidential stuff. I have no idea. It kind of looks like it kind of looks like the judge's order to search Trump's place. It's just ridiculous. It's an assessment matter. It's public information, and they should not be redacting this information. It's ridiculous. So that's $476, and the next one is they have general matters. I don't know if this property came under general matters, but they've got another $102. So $476 plus $102. Here's more redactions. Here's another 100. Yeah, here's the 102. Let's see. And then here's another $34. For writing emails. Yep, $34. And here's another $17. And here's $799. The entire thing is redacted for some reason. It must be highly confidential stuff. But anyway, so that's 800 plus 476, so that's 1276.75, and another 102, 1375, another 34, that's 14. So $1,400 and some change is what it cost, because the assessor couldn't be bothered to talk to me about this. So in other words, instead of discussing it between he and myself, who have expertise in valuation, he wants to put this on a state Supreme Court judge. And it's just a state Supreme Court judge doesn't have time for this nonsense. And so the bottom line is that Pat Duffy didn't do his job. He was arrogant. He was dismissive. His job is to apply mass assessment techniques, which is necessary. But when a taxpayer brings an issue to his attention, it's his job to respond to them promptly and to take a good faith look into whether or not they have a point, and then have an opinion of value. And if he agrees, he's to make an adjustment. If he disagrees, he should politely point them to their appeal options. That's his job, but that's not what he likes to do. He is arrogant. He is dismissive. He is disingenuous. He repeatedly evades my foils. He delays my foils, which is a violation of New York state law. And now he has selectively assessed this property. Clearly, when you go from $40,000 to $400,000, what other explanation than selective assessment, can it be? Did he raise it the same percentage as the rest of the properties in that class? Was there a change in inventory? Was there a building permit? No, there wasn't a change in inventory. And so what he did is he forced a lawsuit to happen. So that's $1,400 and change it cost the town, but my client had to pay for an attorney and court filing fees, and then the Supreme Court has to waste their time with this nonsense. And the Supreme Court is, those people are paid a lot of money for this stuff, and their court attorney, the law clerk, the bailiff, the stenographer, the judge's secretary. So this case probably cost the taxpayers about $10,000 at least. All because Pat Duffy, the assessor for the Town of Manlius, can't be bothered to do his job properly. He's just so stubborn. He refuses to discuss the matter with me so we can avoid state Supreme Court on this petty nonsense. But again, he selectively assessed the property. He evaded FOIL. Those are two violations of New York state law. But not only that, it was intentional, and with malice. And I think that this client should have received punitive damages, to send a message to this town that this behavior, treating taxpayers in this method and in this manner, it cannot be condoned. He violated the New York state law when it comes to FOIL, and he violated New York state law as it pertains to selective assessment. It's illegal. And he did it knowingly, and when we brought it up, he refused to address it. And so I believe that causes that's damages. And so in the future, we will be addressing that, and we'll be asking for damages if it comes to that. We're hoping that Mr. Duffy will, and that the town supervisor and town board will instruct Mr. Duffy to do his job properly, so that this doesn't have to happen in the future. But in the future, we're going to be looking for damages, and we're going to point out that he evades FOIL routinely, and that he selectively assesses the property routinely. I've had a lot of cases with him, and probably more than half of them are selective assessment, welcome stranger. He does it all the time. And he says the state says that he doesn't do it, but I don't think the state looks as closely at these things as I do. So anyway, that's the situation. Pat Duffy cost the taxpayers of Manlius $1,400 by simply not doing his job. He needs to do his job. This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy.